We are here in Zoom, but we are also live via Education USA Costa Rica. If you're joining us via Facebook, you can write your questions there, and we will write them down for our questions and answers at the very end of the presentation. I just want to note that for everyone joining us in the Zoom room, you will be muted for the duration of the presentation, and when you have a point during the presentation, please look for Q&A Jackson Cruz and send your question to Jackson. Jackson will be monitoring the questions at the end of our presentation. And just a quick plug, we are having an Education USA virtual fair on Saturday, September 19th, 2020, which in Central Standard Time is 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And we have the shortened link there for you to sign up. We will be sending the link later as well. So moving forward, we're going to talk about, today is called Exploring Your English Test Options, and we're going to explore some different options we have for English proficiency exams. But first, let's talk about what is Education USA. Education USA is a educational advising program that exists around the world, and we offer free educational advising services in the process of applying to accredited U.S. colleges and universities. We are not a scholarship program, which is why we have that little picture in the left over the money, but we will help guide you towards the opportunities of funding that exist. We offer accurate, comprehensive, unbiased, and the most up-to-date information about the U.S. universities, testing changes, what's going on, and it's important to note that all of our basic services around the world are free, but you should check on Education USA at state.gov to find the nearest advising center to you and your country and see if those services are free or not. So moving forward about what are our services and what do we do in Education USA, we divide applying into 5 steps. The first step is researching your options because we have a lot of universities and colleges in the United States. Step number 2, we explain and talk about how we're going to finance your studies. Are you looking for generous scholarships? Are you considering loans? Are you looking for in-state tuition prices? Those are all the things that we help discuss in your plan. Step 3 is the longest step. It's when we actually apply to the university or college. And so depending on if you're applying at the bachelor's or the graduate level, you'll have to consider, you know, the TOEFL, SAT, GRE, your essays, resume, and we will guide you on all of those parts of the essay. Step 4 is applying for the visa, which is a student visa, different than your tourist visa, and we can explain how that is done, the paperwork you need to turn in, and all of the documents you should bring to your visa interview. And finally, step 5 is what we like to call pre-departure orientation, where we explain everything you need to do so that you're packed and ready to go and how you can adapt to your new life in the first few months and you're in the United States. Some frequently asked questions we tend to get in Education USA. The first one would be is if we are a scholarship program, which I already mentioned. We are not a financial aid or scholarship program, but rather an educational advising program that will help guide you to opportunities of funding. If we have any opportunities to improve your English. If you're joining us today, I am assuming you have at least intermediate English, or because you are joining us in English. If not, I commend you for being brave and for practicing your English, and I hope that I am not talking too quickly for you. But if you're planning on studying a bachelor's, master's, PhD, if you're planning on studying an academic course at a U.S. university or college, you need to already have an intermediate to advanced level of English. However, many colleges and universities nowadays have intensive English programs where you can go and study on the U.S. university or college campus. And instead of taking your academic classes like biology or psychology, you will be taking English classes. Another common question is if we can help you find short-term cultural study abroads or internships abroad. We focus on all of the services offered by U.S. universities and colleges. So we focus more on applying to intensive English programs or academic programs. But one thing to keep in mind when you see the word internship, if you study in the United States on an F1 visa, after graduation, you can extend your visa for 1 year with a program called OPT. optional practical training, which allows you to legally work in the United States in your area of study for up to 1 year. So that's an advantage of the student visa, so that you can apply your knowledge in the same area and get some international work experience. And finally, a lot of times people ask us if we have partnerships with specific US colleges and universities. The answer is no. As I mentioned, we are unbiased, so we represent all 4,700 accredited US universities and colleges in the United States, and we really concentrate on helping each student find the best university for them. We are not going to send all the students to the same 10 universities, because we realize that the best university for me is going to be not going to be the best university for another person, right? We're all unique and have different needs and wants and what we're looking for in a university. So right now we're going to do a poll. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll on your screen, and we're going to wait a few seconds to see what your answers are. So I invite you to answer the poll. We're going to wait a little bit. Okay, so let's share the results with you all. The majority of our viewers today are joining us from Central America, but we also have some people from North America, so Mexico and Canada. The Caribbean, we have 2 people from South America, which is exciting, and 3 people from other. And the majority of you are joining us today because you need to find an English proficiency exam for future studies, although we do have some other people who are looking for employment or internship and research. And when asked what level of English do you currently have, most of you said advanced, some of you said intermediate, and we have a few basic, which is all levels of English are welcome here. And now I'm going to present our 3 guests today. We are being joined by Amy Carter, who is the Director of Partnerships and Communications for IELTS USA. Also, we have Octavio Hidalgo, who is the International Engagement Manager for Duolingo English Test. And finally, we have Jair Ayala, Zarate, who's the Associate Director for TOEFL, IBT, and GRE. So we will be hearing about these 3 different testing organizations today. I encourage you all to send your questions to Q&A Jackson Cruz throughout the presentation. And we're going to go ahead and get started and listen to Amy Carter, who will be talking about the IELTS USA test. So Amy, thank you for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and give you the microphone to begin your presentation.
Great, thank you. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. So today I'm going to provide a very brief overview of IELTS and also share some updates to testing arrangements as a result of COVID-19. I'll walk you through the registration process and share some resources to also help you prepare. So let's go ahead and get started. So IELTS is a test of international English, meaning you could hear a variety of accents, including North American, Australian, and British English. IELTS tests 4 skills: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And the speaking test is a 2-way discussion with a trained and certified examiner. We offer IELTS on paper, computer, and we have a new at-home test that was introduced in response to COVID-19. There are 3 tests I'm going to talk about today. IELTS Academic is used for higher education. General Training is for migration and employment purposes. And IELTS Indicator is the new at-home test, which is used for study purposes. Our scores range between 0 and 9, offered in whole and half bands, and we include a variety of different types of questions on the test, such as fill in the blank, true or false, or even short answers, so just to name a few of the types of questions that we have. And here you can see IELTS is jointly owned by 3 global partners with extensive expertise in test development, which is led by Cambridge Assessment, a division of the University of Cambridge. IDP and British Council are responsible for administering the test everywhere around the world except for the US, which is managed by IELTS USA, which is the company that I work for, based here in Los Angeles, California. So now let's explore some of the choices that you have with IELTS. First is IELTS on paper, which is available in academic and general training. We offer up to tests up to 4 times a month, and prices vary depending on country because they're typically offered in local currency. The results for IELTS on paper is available through 13 days, and the registration includes up to 5 test report forms that you can send to institutions that you're interested in applying to. Now, the only differences between IELTS on paper and IELTS on computer is that the computer test is offered more times a week, and the results are available between 5 and 7 days. And the third option or choice is IELTS at home, which is IELTS Indicator, which is available in academic because it was specifically developed to assist students as you're needing to continue with your college applications despite disruptions to testing due to COVID. It's available once a week in most countries, but I do want to note that we're in the process of reopening test centers around the world, so it's only available for a limited time. The test fee for IELTS Indicator is $149 US, and results are available in 5 to 7 days. And as you can see, we're offering unlimited score reports for anyone who needs to send their IELTS Indicator score to an institution. So although we're offering these 3 different options, I do think it's worth noting that these tests are exactly the same and that they're using the same test questions, they follow the same test format, and they have the same scoring scale. They're also valid for the same amount of time, which is 2 years. So the only real difference in these tests is the delivery method. The speaking test is still conducted as a 2-way discussion with an examiner, and it's conducted via Zoom. So this slide kind of highlights some of the benefits of IELTS Indicator. And again, it's primarily to give students an opportunity to test your listening, reading, writing, and speaking abilities while in-person testing is impacted by COVID-19 closures. It also gives institutions the ability to continue processing applications using an official test that they know and trust. So now let's take a closer look at the format of the test. As you can see, you have 30 minutes for the listening test, 60 minutes for reading, 60 minutes for writing, and approximately 14 minutes for the speaking test, which puts the test just under 3 hours. Because you're measured on your ability to listen, read, write, and speak in English, you will receive a score in each section of the test, as well as an average of the 4. So moving on to the next slide, you can see in terms of the band scores, the average range of scores for admissions is between 5 and 7. And here you can see some of the general descriptions of what we expect a test taker to be able to do at each of these scores. You can also see that we have a corresponding Common European Framework of Reference scale, ranging from A1 to C2, which is listed on the left. And as I previously mentioned, we offer scores in whole and half bands, and score requirements vary depending on the institution. So here you can see some of the colleges and universities that accept IELTS in the United States. And you can always find a list of these institutions with their score requirements on our website. The list is in alphabetical order, as well as searchable by state. So if you're interested in applying to a college in a certain state, such as California, you can search for all of the institutions in California and see what their score requirements are for IELTS. The next slide includes some examples of IELTS score requirements set by 2 institutions. So here I have an example of NYU and Cal State Long Beach. And you'll notice that some of the score requirements are different based on the program. So you can see scores ranging from 5.5 for an undergraduate program all the way up to a 7 for graduate programs. So we suggest that you always research the score requirements in advance to be clear on what your expectations are before you take the test. Again, this information is always available on our website, and you can easily search for any of the 10,000 institutions that accept IELTS around the world on this site. So now I'm going to walk you through the registration process for IELTS. You essentially search by country and then city, and then you'll have the option to select between paper or computer in your preferred location. We have test centers that are opening in more than 80 countries, and our staff have taken some additional precautions for social distancing within our centers. The next slide will talk about or show the general same process for IELTS Indicator when you want to register, which can be found at IELTSindicator.com. And you'll select the country that you're in and then proceeding selecting the date that you wish to take the test. You'll also be able to select a speaking test or at a convenient time for you, which will be done using Zoom. On this side, you'll also see a checklist of things that you need to review to ensure that your computer is compatible. And the next slide will show you a video of these details. Great, thank you. So obviously with a new test that's taken at home, we want to make sure that you follow all the steps that you need to be able to ensure that you're able to take the test with no problems. So now I'm going to take some time to review some of the free resources that we have available. We have a new online course that's called Inside IELTS, and it's offered through Future Learn. And I've also included a few mobile apps that you can download to help you as you prepare. The next slide offers some recommendations on some of our social media channels that you should visit. So we have Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and they include a variety of videos offering advice to help you as you're practicing. I also created a landing page specifically for Education USA students that includes links to free practice tests. It includes books and courses and everything that's in one place for you to be able to find the information you need as you're preparing. So finally, I'd like to share some very key takeaways from this presentation to help you understand why IELTS is trusted around the world. First, we measure your listening, reading, writing, and speaking abilities, and we're able to offer the face-to-face speaking because we feel it provides a more true-to-life assessment of what your English abilities are. We offer in-country expertise through our extensive testing network, and we're committed to increasing your access to the test as we reopen post-COVID. We have more than 100 years of experience in language testing, and we're accepted by over 10,000 institutions around the world. And more than 3 million people take the test each year to prove their English proficiency. So this concludes my portion of the presentation. I'd like to thank you for your time today, and I'll now pass the presentation on to Octavia.
Thank you so much, Amy. We really appreciate that. There's an email address if you have any questions about IELTS. And as Amy mentioned, we are going to move forward and hear from Octavio Hidalgo about the Duolingo English Test. So go ahead, Octavio, please teach us about this, this test option.
Absolutely. No, thank you for the invite. Thank you everyone for joining today. Really excited to speak with you. My name is Octavio Hidalgo. I'm the International Engagement Manager for the Duolingo English Test. And the fun fact is that before joining Duolingo, I was an international student as well. So I have a good experience in terms of what we were mentioning earlier in terms of the research to study abroad, come to the US, and also taking your English proficiency test. I'm really excited to share more about the Duolingo English Test and how you can take it in order to apply to universities around the world. So let's get started. A little bit about Duolingo. Yes, we are the same company. I've received this question quite a lot. I'm pretty sure that many of the attendees today, either you're using Duolingo to learn languages or you have used it before. We are the most popular platform around the world. You can learn more than 30 languages completely free. And we have over 300 million users using Duolingo and learning with us. But a couple of years ago, besides teaching languages, we identified that the students were having some challenges when they had to certify their English level, either because they wanted to study abroad, apply to university, or maybe because they wanted to get a better job. And we decided to create the Duolingo English Test as a more accessible and convenient test. As you see, nowadays you have more than 800 million people around the world learning English, and taking exams sometimes can be a little bit challenging. Moving on to the next slide. When we talk about traditional tests and the context that I'm describing, you have that the students, they need to take an English exam, and usually the first struggle is finding a date or booking an appointment to take your test. For example, last year I had the opportunity to travel to a couple of countries in Latin America, Costa Rica included, and a couple of other countries in Central America. And it was quite interesting for us to receive this feedback that in some cases, the students, they have to wait a couple of weeks to take their exams. And with the Duolingo English Test, you can do it anytime without going to a test center and without waiting or taking the test for more than 3 hours to receive your results, okay? And when you assess and analyze the scenario and you see the number of people around the world and the access to test centers, it's quite complicated in some countries, okay? In countries in Latin America, it's not a big issue in some cases, but when you see, for example, regions, for example, in Africa, it can be a challenge. And on the other hand, you have the access to internet, and that's how we are innovating because our platform is accessible anywhere, anytime, with a computer that has a webcam and a microphone. So let's move on and talk about the test and tell you a little bit more about the features that we offer and how you can receive these benefits. The Duolingo English Test is convenient. You only need a computer with a webcam and a microphone to take the test. Yes, you can take it from home as long as you follow the instructions that we require. I'm gonna mention that in a couple of minutes. The test and the experience is fast and efficient. Taking the test takes less than 60 minutes of your time, and receiving the results should be in the next 48 hours. You can share those results with as many institutions as you want. It's completely free to send results to the institutions, and it's affordable as well. It costs only $49 to take the test, and you can take it up to 2 days every 30 days. A little bit about the test process. Taking the test, as I just mentioned, it takes 60 minutes of your time. Receiving those results will be in the next 2 days, meaning that if you take the test today, Wednesday of this week, you're gonna receive your results before Friday, and you can share those results with as many institutions as you want. It's on demand, and the test takers can send those scores anytime, okay? Let's move on and talk a little bit about the security and the test environment and the rules. That is very important that the students understand. We have the following process and the following resources as well available on our website before you take the test. So you understand a little bit what you can do and what you cannot do when you take the Duolingo English Test. First of all, you need to have your document of identification, such as a driver's license, passport, or national ID to take the test. You need to be in a quiet and well-lit room, as I am right now, with enough light so we can see your face. And you need 60 minutes of your time. That's all that it takes to take the test. Of course, you need a computer with a webcam and a microphone, and also a reliable internet connection to take the test. Everything is done with your internet browser. So as you see there on the right that it says supported browser, that's something that you can click to double check if your computer and your internet browser is compatible with the test before you take it. A little bit about the rules and what you should do and what you shouldn't do when we take the Duolingo English Test. I like to explain this part in the sense that it's exactly the same as being in a classroom, okay? So, but in this case, the Duolingo English Test is a remotely proctored test. So our proctoring team ensures that you're following those instructions that we require for the validity and the integrity of the test. You cannot use headsets to take the exam. You cannot be looking around because that could lead to an invalidation. Also, you cannot use additional programs or plugins in your computer because that will be receiving help, and that's invalid. And you cannot have any interactions with people while you're taking the test, no one else in the room, because that will lead to an invalidation as well, okay? Moving forward and talking about the test and what we measure and the technologies that we use, something interesting about the Duolingo English Test, and this is always something that I like to share with students and counselors and schools that they recommend the test to their students, is that the Duolingo English Test is comprehensive. We work with adaptive technologies, meaning that the test is unique for the students. Depending on your English level, when you take the test, the platform has artificial intelligence and adapts the test to your English level. We measure and evaluate the 4 skills: speaking, listening, reading, and writing. And we provide a certificate that comes with a video interview and a writing sample that you can share to the institutions. The next slide includes a quick example of the video interview. And I always like to say here that I wish that at the time that I took my English proficiency test, something like this existed, because with the video interview that we provide to the students and also that you can share with the institutions accepting the Duolingo English Test, you're gonna have a competitive edge because the institution is gonna be able to see how you speak and how you interact with the spontaneous test that we provide. So this is something that is completely included with your test experience for only $49 US. And you receive that benefit, and you can share those scores along with your video interview and the writing sample to the institutions. Talking a little bit about the scores and information about how to interpret the Duolingo English Test scores. You can go to the following website, is englishtest.duolingo.com/scores, to find all the in detail information about the test, the score comparison, for example, the comparison with the IELTS that Amy was mentioning, the comparison with TOEFL that's going to be mentioned later on as well. So you understand a little bit better what's your level. And also this is going to be very useful information for you as a student if you take the test to see what's the score that the institution is requiring, and you see if you have the level requested before you send your admission documents to them, okay? Beautiful. So I want to show you a quick example in terms of how you as a student can send your results. As I mentioned before, sending results is completely free. You can share with as many institutions as you want without paying additional money or a fee. Currently, the Duolingo English Test is accepted by over 2,500 institutions around the world. And you will see here a couple of the names. In terms of undergraduate programs, we have institutions from UCLA. Margaret, I think that you can go to the next slide. I don't know if I have a little delay. There we go. The previous one, yeah, that's one. You will see there a couple of the names, such as Stanford, Yale, Duke, Chicago University, and many others. You can actually access this full list on that website that you see over there, englishtest.duolingo.com/institutions, in order to search, and you can do your research. This is usually the part that Education USA is very helpful for you, to see if they're using Duolingo. Not only for undergrad, but also for graduate programs, you have this information available on our website. But once you receive your results in the next 48 hours after taking the test, you can go to the same website that you used to take the test, click share, and you will have two options. The first one is university, and the second one is secondary school. In this case, we're talking about colleges and universities. So you click university and you're gonna have access to a full list of the institutions that I was just mentioning. You can show the next slide with that quick example. Over there, you can search by name and click the checkbox in order to select the institution that you're applying to share your results with them. As I just mentioned before, remember that you're gonna be sending the certificates along with the video interview and the writing sample, okay? Finally, I have here a couple of recommendations, and something that I always like to say to the students is that it's very, very important before taking any test, not only Duolingo, but any other test, is very important that you practice, okay? And you study and you familiarize yourself with the test. We offer that option as well. You can go to the Duolingo English Test website, englishtest.duolingo.com/applicants, and you can create your account. It's completely free to create your account before you purchase the test. Once you are inside of the platform, and the next slide shows the account registration, you see we only request your age and the email address that you want to use to take the test. Once you're inside of the platform and you access your main dashboard, you will see that you have three options. The first option, the next slide, please. The three options are taking the free practice test, purchasing your test, or taking the test. But the free practice test is very, very important for the students. Why? Because you can take it as many times as you want, completely free. And the idea here is that you familiarize yourself before you take the full exam, and that you have a good experience before paying for the test. Usually this is a very, very useful resources for the students in order to familiarize themselves with the platform. And whenever you're ready, you can take the full exam over there where it says purchase test in order to proceed. The next slide is just a quick example of the practice test. The practice test is only 15 minutes of your time. It's also adaptive, and you can take it as many times as you want in order to see how the content is. For example, to see a little bit about the video interview that I was mentioning during the presentation. And the idea there is that I'm pretty sure that if you take it, you're gonna like it and you're gonna enjoy then the full experience. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those at the end of the presentation. Thank you for the time. I'm gonna leave the floor for the TOEFL friends over here to give you more information about that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Octavio. I'm going to quickly introduce our next speaker, but before we do that, we're going to do one poll to see if you guys are paying attention and to make sure to learn a little bit more about everyone. So we're going to go ahead and launch the poll. We want to know, why do you think that you need to take an English proficiency exam to study at an accredited U.S. university or college? What English proficiency exams had you heard about, maybe before today or even including today? So go ahead and vote when you have the chance. And while we're waiting for you to vote, I also want to mention that both Amy and Octavio mentioned free practice resources. Jair is also going to mention some free practice resources. And we have made a document that has all of those links in one single document. So my colleague, Maria Luisa, is going to send the document in our Zoom chat. And like I said, you can download the document. All of the links are there to practice for IELTS, to practice for TOEFL, to practice for Duolingo English Test. If you're joining us from Facebook and you want a copy of that document, please reach out to us at sanjose@educationusa.org, and we will be happy to send you that information. So let's take a look at the answers from our poll. So most people answered what we're looking for. You need to take an English exam because if it's not your native language, you need to demonstrate to the university or institution how proficient you are and how you would do in an educational setting. And then looking down, many of you had heard of various different options. So I'm happy that you've heard about different options and you're learning about other options as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to introduce Jair from, let's see if I can, there we go, from TOEFL IBT, who is the Associate Director of TOEFL IBT and GRE, which is an exam at the graduate level for anyone who's joining us at the graduate level. So thanks for being with us today, Jair.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to try to move along my presentation. Thank you very much for having accepted the invitation to join us and to learn about like different possibilities that you may have to take different exams. All right, so first of all, I want to introduce what TOEFL is, what TOEFL stands for. Test of English as a foreign language. So as well as you all guys who mentioned that English is not your first language happens to us. 97% of the population in the world speak English as a foreign language. So this exam is designed by and for foreigners who speak English as a foreign language. So that is your case and that is my case as well. Second of all, IBT stands for Internet-Based Test. So this exam has been based on internet since a couple of years ago. So we are going to be talking about what the exam is and also the possibilities of taking this exam from your houses. Okay, so this exam is, there's only one version of this exam. This exam is academic. It's an academic exam that measures the 4 language skills. And we start up with reading, then we move on for the listening section. After a 10-minute break, we have the speaking section, and we close up with the writing section of the exam. This exam is valid in 11,000 universities around the world, not only in the United States, but also in New Zealand, the United Kingdom, all over Europe and Asia. Of course, needless to mention that it is also accepted in all universities in Central and South America as well. Okay, so it is also accepted in order for you to be able to have your visa and also for immigration processes. The exam that you may take, it's no longer than 3 hours. And in the 3 hours, including the 10-minute break, you are going to be tested on the 4 language skills. You have 3 or 4 paragraphs, and each of those paragraphs are not going to have texts, are not going to have more than 10 questions. Then you have the listening section, and there you have 2 types of different inputs. First, you have a lecture as if you were in a class, and second, you have conversation also as if you were in a class. The first part is not going to have more than 5 minutes, and out of those 5 minutes, you're going to receive 6 questions. Then in the second part, based on the conversation that is no longer than 3 minutes, you're going to receive 5 questions. Then you have the 10-minute break, and you move on for the speaking section. The speaking section, you audio record your answers on the computer, and then of course, basically you need to once again remember that this exam is for foreigners. So accents, intonation, mispronunciations are valid. All right, so this is not going to be penalized. You are not asked to speak using any different accent from yours, because this exam is designed for speakers of English as a foreign language. So the first task of the speaking part has to do with an independent task, which is like a direct question, whether you agree or disagree with certain statement. And in the integrated task, you read some aspect in a text, and then based on this information, you listen to some information related to that reading section, and then you either compare, contrast, or summarize the information. Very similar to the tasks that you perform in the writing section. Same, independent and integrated sections are in the writing part. Then out of these 4 tasks, out of these 4 sections, you complete the exam in 3 hours time, including the 10-minute break. Okay, now also, it is also important to remember that this exam, as I already mentioned, is valid in 11,000 universities around the world, right? And also it is valid for undergrad, grad, and even PhD and post-PhD studies, right? And it is valid in more than 150 countries around the world. Now we're going to talk about special home edition, which is the possibility for you to take the same exam from your house. Okay, now because of the COVID situation, and it started up back in November last year, we foresaw this situation, and as of April 1st, this year, we started offering this option throughout the world. Everyone can have access to take exactly the same exam as if you took it in a testing site, but now you can take it from your houses, all right? So it is exactly the same exam, but now you can have the possibility to take it from your house. Now, we're gonna see exactly what is it that you need, logistically speaking, to be able to take the exam from your house. Second of all, we're gonna be able to see how is it that you register, and then what is it that you have to do the day when you take the exam, and what to do with the scores afterwards. Now, first of all, you need to, we need to be able to understand once again that it is exactly the same exam. We only have one exam, and what we are doing right now is that you have the chance to take the exam from your house. As we say, desde la comodidad de tu hogar. All right, so here, it has exactly the same content, the same format, the same test taking experience as if you take it internet-based test. Now with the best options to take because you use my best scores. This is the possibility for you to use previous, past best scores from previous exams in your current score report. And also you have instant scoring of your reading and listening. Once you finish the reading and listening section, you can have access to see how you did, all right? Then also it has exactly the same payment and it is the same price and the same payment options. And once again, it has exactly the same validity as if you had taken the exam in a testing center. Here in this link here, you can find information about preparation material. So if you want to take a screenshot, or also if you want to email me, also this is part of the information that Mo mentioned that is going to be shared with you. Here, there are only 3 differences between the exam that you take in a testing center and the exam that you're going to take in your house. First, it is going to be from your house. Second of all, it is going to be using your own computer. So those are benefits. And third, you're going to be supervised. You're going to be monitored by a person who is only observing your performance. So this is basically one supervisor per candidate. All right. Those are the only 3 differences that we have. Now, when can you take the exam? Basically, you can take it Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday 24/7. And you choose the day and the time that best suits your availability to take the exam, okay? Now, how to do this? You just need to go to our website, ets.org/TOEFL. And then you can find the links there where you can download 2 applications for you to run before you take the test. And that's about it. Now, you need to have a laptop or a desktop. And second of all, you need to have computer connected to internet. And also you need to use Chrome or Firefox to run the programs. That's about it. Okay, now important, you may not use this type of headsets when you take the exam. So what you're going to do instead is use the components that come within your computer, the microphone and the speakers. And once again, you cannot use this type of headsets. All right. Why? Because the idea is that this could give the maybe you can have some device to take any information from the test, or also you can receive external information. This is important because we do need to guarantee not only you as test taker, but also the 11,000 universities that are going to receive your scores, all right? That actually you are the one who registered and who's taking the exam. Okay, so as I said before, you need to use your computer with the camera, so that through the camera, you're going to be video recorded, and then they're going to verify that it is you who's taking the exam and the same person who paid and registered to take the exam. This camera is also used to show 600 degree the room where you are going to be taking the exam. That's basically just to show that you're going to be by yourself. Next, please. Okay, so also if you have any disability or health-related problem, please use the link here for further information. Thank you. Here, as I said before, you just need to download these two applications and see if they run perfectly. They do, before you register for the exam, and then you are ready to go. Now, how to register for the exam? It is like creating an email account. But the only recommendation I give here, please do use your real information, because this is the same information we're going to share with the universities you are applying to, okay? Once you complete this information, 2 days after, you are going to be reached out by ProctorU, which is the company that is going to be able to book your testing date and time. And after you select the day and the time, you are ready for the exam. So basically, after 2 days, you pay, you are able to take your exam Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, 24/7. And then this is the verification that you do right before you take the exam, right before confirming your date and time of your exam. Okay. Now, as I said already, taking the exam has exactly the same price, so you don't need to pay any extra fee for taking this type of modality of the exam. All right. Basically, what you need to do is to have a place where to take the exam that you are not going to be interrupted for 3 hours. You need to be by yourself, and on the surface of the place where you're going to place your computer, nothing different from your computer and the keyboard should be present. And you need to be sitting down in front of the computer. So you may not take the test laying down on a couch or on your bed. All right, you need to have your ID, because you need to confirm that the information you registered is exactly the same information that you have in the moment that you're going to take the exam. Also, you can show with a mirror, or what I am doing right now, you can use the cell phone to show what's behind your computer. Once again, to evidence to show that you are going to be by yourself. And now this point is super important. If we can move on, please. This part is super important because these are the items that you should use to take notes with. All right, so you need either a small whiteboard or a transparent sheet protector to take notes on with an erasable marker. Why? Because we don't want you to take out of the room any information from the exam, right? So that is the reason why these are the only materials permitted for you to take notes with. All right. From this point on, basically, are some recommendations for you to feel comfortable and confident when you are taking the exam. So try not to wear any accessory when you're taking the exam. And then be before 15 minutes before you actually need to take the test, so that you can show that you're going to be by yourself in the room, that you have all the technological conditions to take the exam, and everything is ready for you to take your exam. Okay, so during the exam, basically what you need to do is to do exactly what I have been doing. Be in front of the camera and being, like in this position where you are showing that you are taking a test. Basically, that's about it. Okay. As I said, you have access to the reading and listening scores right after you finish those two sections. And you are going to receive your TOEFL scores between 6 and 10 working days. And as well as any other international exam, the validity of this exam is for 2 years, and the scores are sent out to the universities you select. Also, the scores are sent to your account, the one that you selected, and then afterwards you can print it out and share it with the institutions that you want to or that you are applying to. All right, so this is my best scores about. As I mentioned, you can use previous exams best scores in this current score report. So if you have taken the exam before, those best scores from previous sessions, you can use them in this current exam score report. So this is something that you should take advantage of, all right? And this is a clear example. So test date 1, test date 2, and then the result of my best scores, of course, is going to show that you have a higher score. And this actually helps out a lot. Thousands of universities are accepting this my best score policy. All right, so here is some information. You can have four free scores before you take the exam. And then of course, after, you can print out the score that you receive in your account. All right, from here, once again, if you have any additional question, please just reach out to me. My email is jayala@etsglobal.org. Please do not hesitate. I can exchange with you as much information as you need, and just let me know so that I can help you. Thank you very much for your time and for your attention.
I'm back. Okay, sorry, I was muted. Thank you so much, Jair, for that. We are now going to begin our part of the presentation with questions. So my colleague Jackson will be helping us. And really quickly, I wanted to just mention it's important that when you're looking for your universities and colleges that you look directly on their websites to see what tests they accept. These are 3 options, but there are many options for English tests. And you can research and see what you believe to be the best fit for you in terms of an English test and your availability and the equipment that you have. So now we're going to start with our questions and answers. Jackson, if you can go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much, Mo, and thank you to Jair Octavio and for directing this session. So we do have a question right now in reference to TOEFL. So if the in-presence TOEFL IBT were canceled, how easy would it be to reschedule it and to do it at home, and hopefully for a closer date?
Thank you. That is a very good question. So changing the modality doesn't mean that you have to pay any extra, all right? So if you have already paid for your exam and you have like a seat to take it and you want to take it from your house, you don't need to pay anything. Just contact TOEFL@ets.org and then you can change that modality. Second of all, as I already mentioned, you can take your exam within 2 days. For example, if you could do that, ask for that change today, there is a high possibility for you to take the exam this coming Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, 24/7. So basically you have all the chances to take your exam next Sunday.
All right. And thank you, Jair, for that wonderful answer. And thank you also to Amy, who's also here with us today. We do have another question from our viewers. When and where will testing dates and centers be available for prospective students in Honduras when it comes to the IELTS?
Hi, thanks. So I'm here. I think what you can do is contact the testing center directly. If you want to share your contact details with me, and I can forward them on to my team. Right now, what's happening is centers are opening very, very quickly, depending on what's going on with COVID in each country. So I don't have specific details about Honduras right now, but I'd be happy to follow up and find some information for you.
All right, thank you so much, Amy. And so we'll also continue with you. Well, we already answered that. When will IELTS be available in Honduras? Okay. Duolingo. So do you have a list of universities that accept Duolingo for English proficiency proof? Octavio.
There we go. Yes.
Right.
Yes. And you can access this information on our website. Feel free to go to englishtest.duolingo.com/institutions. And you can see over there all the programs, all the institutions accepting the test. But also what Margaret mentioned before is very important, that you check what the institutions have on their website, because usually if they are accepting Duolingo, they also include this information on the website so the students know that they can take this test from home.
All right. Thank you, Octavio. And we're going back to IELTS now. Could IELTS be an indicator test for general purpose, for example, immigration?
So right now, IELTS indicator is only available in the academic test. And again, the primary reason for that test was to be able to cater to students who needed to continue with their application process. As of now, the immigration authorities are not accepting tests that are taken at home. So that is the reason why IELTS indicator is only for higher education and for study purposes at this time.
Thank you so much, Amy. And this is a question for all of you guys. How long do I need to prepare to improve my level and reach the target score needed for an admissions?
Well, I can start.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll start. I mean, it really depends, right? It depends how much time you're taking to prepare. I would definitely recommend that you always take a practice test first to see what level you could expect to, or what score you could expect to receive on IELTS or any test. We have a practice test called Progress Check, which basically gives you an indication of how you would score on a real IELTS. But it's always useful to, make sure that you take a practice test and prepare, but it could vary. I mean, it really depends on the kinds of resources that you have, whether you're taking any in-person classes or you're doing you're learning on your own. It really could depend, but we definitely recommend that you build in that time to prepare before you take the test. We don't want anyone to spend any money to take a test if they're not ready to take it. And I'm sure that the other testing organizations would say similar things.
Absolutely. I want to add to that point that for us, and what I always tell to the students, because I was an international student, is that more importantly than how good you can take an English proficiency test, either IELTS, TOEFL, or the Duolingo English Test, the most important thing is that you improve your English proficiency, because you take the test, but then you're going to have to move to the US and study here, and you're going to be interacting with people and all of that. So that's usually the most important, and you have to combine all the resources that you have, either the online classes, the classes at your university, the practice tests that we offer are very helpful to familiarize yourself with the test before taking the full exam and paying for the test. But usually that first part is on you, and it depends on your English level and the base and all of that, and also how you use the resources that you have access to. In our case, with the Duolingo test, we give you free access to those resources, and when you take the full exam, we're going to be able to see if you really have that English proficiency, because our test is adaptive. Okay, but I don't know, Jair, you want to add more on that?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to speak from myself, I am an English teacher myself. I've been teaching English for 23 years, and of course I speak English as a foreign language. And I have understood that actually it is not only about language proficiency, but also test taking skills. These two are developed as part of our academic growth. So to take or to have a good score in any international exam or in any exam does not only depend on the proficiency, but it also depends on how good student you are, how good reader you are in your own language. So you transfer these skills, test taking skills, to the other language. So it is not like a preparation course, but it's actually to use your academic skills. And basically that is it, I wouldn't say that you do need certain amount of time, but actually you do need to develop test taking skills and your academic skills.
Thank you. Thank you so much. How long will students have to wait for the scores? This is for all of you.
In my case, with the Duolingo English Test, it's only 2 days. You take the test today, and before Friday of this same week, you should have your results ready. And the results includes the certificates, the video interviews, and the writing samples that you can send to the institutions.
And from the IELTS perspective, I had a slide on this. It depends on the delivery method. So if you take IELTS on paper, it takes about 13 days. If you take IELTS on computer, it's between 5 and 7, and the same amount of time for IELTS at home, the indicator test, it's 5 to 7 days.
So in regards to TOEFL, we take between 6 and 10 days.
Thank you. For Duolingo, can you take the Duolingo test as many times as you want?
Technically speaking, yes, but there's a minor limitation. You can take 2 Duolingo English tests every 30 days, okay? If you need to take it more than that, you can contact support so they can see the case, but the policy is that you can take 2 exams every 30 days and you will be able to take the third after 30 days from the first test taken, okay?
All right.
Can I say something there? I already did, I'm sorry. Here in relation to TOEFL, after 3 days you took TOEFL, you may register to take the exam again. So only 3 days after you took TOEFL, you may register again.
Thank you so much. Can I, this is for Duolingo, can I use it to take a test in other languages, for example, French?
That's a really good question. So far it's only the English test. That's why the test is called Duolingo English Test. But we hope, and as we teach many other languages, that in the future we can have other languages as well. But as it is right now, you can only test your English. If we release any other products in the upcoming future, we're gonna have those on our website as well. So far with English.
All right. Thank you, Octavio. This is for addressing all of you guys. In your experience, do you agree that English learners lose their abilities if they don't practice? If so, what are the percentages and what is the longest period you can wait between the time I finish my test and my test prep and take the real one?
I can say it from my perspective, since I'm a native Spanish speaker. Yes, I believe that if you don't practice, you get a little bit rusty, and that happens to all of us. For example, right now with the coronavirus, sometimes I'm home only speaking Spanish, and if I don't have any English interaction with my peers, it gets a little bit difficult, but I get back to it very fast. Actually, my recommendation in terms of Duolingo, you can take it as many times, the practice test, and practice with those materials. But the thing is that we don't have any study proving or assessing that part in terms of how good you're going to be performing. But important to remark here is in terms of the validity of the results. And on that side, yes, we have studies, and that's why most of the test companies, they accept the validity of the results are 2 years. So that's something for you to consider. And I don't know of students that they have practiced and stop practicing for a year and then they will take a test 2 years later. That's not the case. But that's my personal opinion in this case, okay?
Yeah, I was going to echo that. That's the reason why the 2-year validity period has been implemented. Basically, if you don't practice, then you tend to lose a bit of the language, as Octavio mentioned. So I don't have stats either to say, what that percentage is and how long you should, you can wait, what's the max amount of time, but it's just to be mindful of the fact that if you aren't continuing to use the language, you tend to lose it a bit.
Yeah, I may say that as long as once you start, like retake it, like you pick it up as something natural. I was going to compare it to riding a bicycle. The fact that you just like stop using it doesn't mean that you're going to lose it all, but actually, yes, the more you practice, the better you get at it. But anyhow, I guess your question goes like, how long after you take the prep course? I strongly suggest to do it not before 1 week. So if you finish the course, let's say on a Friday, your exam should be the next Friday, right? This is like when you prepare yourself for a marathon. The week before you run the marathon, you don't do anything about sports. So this is exactly the same. You don't need to be overloaded with information and stressed out about the exam. So 1 week before you take the exam, stop thinking about the exam. That is something that we have done, and it lowers stress levels, and actually that gives you the possibility for you to be fresh for the exam. Don't study 1 day before the exam. That is something that we shouldn't do.
Thank you, all three. This is for all of you guys again. How long are the tests valid for?
2 years.
All right, 2 years. There we go. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah,
all right.
actually, the reason why of that period of time is, as Amy mentioned, after you take the exam, there could be two things to happen. First, that you actually are in contact with the language so that your language skills improved, or opposite to that, you finish your studies or the process that you were developing at that school, university, and then you go back home and you don't practice that much. So your proficiency could decrease. So that is why the validity of those exams is for 2 years, and then the purpose is actually to renew it, let's say, every 2 years.
Thank you. Now, this is an interesting question. How should I register my name if it is Maria Paula Castro Lopez, but everyone calls me Paula? Can I register it as Paula? And how would I register my last name?
Please register it as it appears in your legal document that you're gonna use to travel. That is the best way. My full name is Octavio Enrique Hidalgo Caballero, but I go by Octavio Hidalgo in the US. But use the full name as it is in Latin America. That is very long, because then what's gonna happen is that on the university side as well, for us, we're gonna have to verify your identity, and the name must match in terms of your documentation. But then also when you share those results with the university, they're going to have their system, and they have to match your name with your English proficiency test. So that's the important part as well. So there is no mismatch or misunderstanding in terms of the information that you're providing to the university and to the English testing company. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. What is the cost for TOEFL? And what institutions take the TOEFL exam?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Yes. What is the cost or the for the TOEFL exam, and what institutions accept it?
Okay. Every single country would have a different cost for the exam. I am based in Colombia, and here is $240. I know that in Panama is 180. In some states in the States is 170. Some places is 150. So it goes about, let's say, 150 up to $250, all right? But then when you check in the website, then based on the country that you are on, you can see what the price of the exam is. And 11,000 universities. So just as a matter of fact, we signed up an agreement with ASCUN, which is the Asociación Colombiana de Universidades. We have together 250 universities in Colombia. All these universities accept TOEFL scores. Also, we have an agreement with ASCU, which is the same association of American universities. There are 2,600 universities only in the States, and all over the world. I think it is easier the other way around to look for universities or institutions that do not accept TOEFL. That would be shorter the list, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you. This is a question there that is interesting. What has been the results for the test taken at home versus the paper-based or insight test? What is the difference, or is there any difference between them, or maybe in performance-wise?
Well, actually, that question, I'm gonna dare to answer. As I said, the only three differences between taking a TOEFL test from a testing site, which is closed, you know, because of the COVID situation, when you take it from your house, is that you're gonna take it from your house. You're gonna take it the day and the time that you want, and you're gonna be using your computer. And then basically you can do what I am doing right now, that is just like talking out loud your lungs, so no one is gonna care about what you say, how you say it, or anything like that. So I guess if you take into consideration those 5 facts that I just took out of my head, you can see that actually the difference is quite good. And of course the results have been evidence showing that it is a lot easier, let's say, in these aspects, to take the exam from your house.
And I would echo that. From an IELTS perspective, essentially it's the same test. We use the same test questions. It's the same scoring. It's the same format. The only difference is the delivery mode. And we also still offer the face-to-face speaking, which is obviously conducted via Zoom. So there are no differences in the content within the test. It's literally just the difference in the delivery, and again, specifically to address COVID issues.
And I'm going to remark that the Duolingo English Test is only an English proficiency test accessible on your computer. We don't work with test centers. You don't have to go to a test center. The test was created like this 4 years ago. It happens that with the current context, the students cannot go to test centers, or it's complicated depending on the cities, but that's something important to mention, that the test, it's always been like this. There is only one Duolingo English test. It's not that you have to register for multiple or different types of tests, okay?
Thank you, Octavio. This is a question for Jair. For the TOEFL IBT at home, I would like to confirm that I can't use the camera on my laptop, because on your website, it says camera must be able to rotate 360 degrees view of the room, including your tabletop surface. And I'm not sure how I will be able to do that. What can I do?
Basically, all you need to do is what I am going to do right now. And that's it. You just take your computer and you turn it around, and there you go. That's it.
All right, yes. This is for IELTS. How can you access the practice test scored when you take the practice test afterwards?
I may have received a private message on this in the chat. So basically, on the handout that was provided in the link, you'll see a landing page that includes a link to all of the various types of practice tests that we have. And you can access that information on that site. We have a variety of different practice tests that are available that are offered through British Council and IDP globally. And we have a few practice tests that are available through the IELTS partnership as well. So there are a few different options that you can look at that are available on that website, which is go.ieltsusa.org/IELTS Prep Education USA. And again, it's included in the handout that was that's downloadable from the chat.
Thank you so much to all our great presenters, Jair, Octavio, and Amy, for providing us with very useful information from our viewers across Zoom platform and Facebook as well. So we want to have Mo now take over with our last section. Thank you.
Muted. Okay. Hi, everybody. Yes, again, we just wanted to thank our presenters today. We hope that you learned a lot about IELTS, Duolingo English Test, and TOEFL IBT, both in-person and at-home edition. And before we leave, we just wanted to mention that on Saturday, September 19th of 2020, this year, we will be having an Education USA virtual fair with 100 universities. And so we have the information there for those who are in Central America. We will be attending from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you go to the Education USA page in your country, your advisor will have it in the time in your country in case you're confused about time zones. We recommend you sign up soon. There is a limited amount of space for this fair, and it's going to be a lot of fun. You can go to the virtual booths and talk to the representatives, and we will also have simultaneous presentations about different topics related to the application process that you can also attend live or watch recorded later on. So thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope that you all have a wonderful night. I hope you stay safe, wash your hands, and please pay attention to our Facebook and Instagram pages for all of our events. Thanks everybody. Thank you, Octavio. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Jair.
Bye.
Bye everybody.
Bye. Thank you.